Hello everyone, my name is the generally beautiful and moronic HAC, and we have a special video for you today. As you can see, I brought along 3 guests and 3 friends along with me. To the right of me, we have my good friend Chris Ryan.
Hello, I am Christofer Ryan. I love comic books.
And he has been a long time guest on the hacjacshow since the first year we started. And to the right of Chris, we have Dr. Crow.
Hello, I am Dr. Crow, magician and streamer ordinaire, writer of 2 current projects, Smoke and Mirrors and All American Red Squirrel.
And last but certainly not least, to the right, Dr. Crow, we have and special friend and guest of the hacjacshow, literally here since the beginning. Welcome, a long time friend and guest, Ghetto Machine.
Thank you. Hold your applause. Just send money.
And we all have come here today to do the one thing that all of us are passionate about, and that is to yap about comics. And not just any comics. We want to yap about comics that not only do we like, but we want to share with you, people who are watching this video. Comics that we believe should be talked about more, should be shown more, and we're going to do our best to persuade you to check out these 4 different comic books that we have presented to you today. And I will be the first one to kick off this video. Now, I almost forgot. Now I should tell the audience that we will go not completely in depth, but we're not gonna shy away from sharing the things that we enjoy. Mostly because, number one, a lot of the books we're gonna pick, they have been out for a while now. So any type of potential spoilers is, that's not a concern, especially with these very lesser known books. And rather, we want to show you the best that these stories have to offer so that you'll be inclined to read it yourselves. I choose for this first comic roundup, Criminals by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
Woo!
This is Criminals #1 by from Icon Press, which I believe is and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's an imprint of Marvel, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
right.
I think they did the Kick-Ass comics, I think. And
this original series comes all the way back from 2006, and there's multiple, I think there's 2 main series, and there's multiple like one-offs and side series of the Criminal books. But this is the original one, Criminal #1, and the storyline is called Coward, which is a 5-part storyline. All right, so to give a very short synopsis, what Criminal is, at least this first arc. So what the Criminal is as a concept is basically Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips are doing stories about criminals in a very, as they put it, neo-noir fashion, but just gritty crime story. And in this particular one, this issue that covers the Coward story, this story is all about a professional thief who goes by the name of Leo, and his whole thing is that he is one of the best thieves in the city. In fact, he is so good, guys, so good that even the police has hired him in order to solve some cases. That's how good he is. However, for such a professional thief who always tries to think 10 steps ahead, he has one flaw to him. And that flaw is that he is a coward. At the first signs of trouble, he immediately leaves and doesn't look back. And so just
like all of us.
like all criminal scum. So what this story is he is gonna go do one last big case for the police, and this is gonna be the case that's gonna really test his limits and his personal values. Because one thing that the story highlights a lot in this comic is that he has his own set of rules. He has his own code. To stay alive, he follows these code. No, there's no honor. He's a coward. He ain't got no honor.
No honor.
Okay, no honor is in play.
No, but he does. But he has codes to keep himself alive. One of the rules the comic highlights, for example, is that he will not work with anyone who carries a gun. And the reason is because the person who carries a gun will be tempted more to use it when things go wrong. And that will cause more problems for the heist or whatever job that they have to do.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's kind of his whole character personality. He also has a lot of traumas from his youth because, fun fact, he didn't just become a thief on his own. No. He was taught by the best of the best, his daddy. So it's, I guess you could say it's he's honoring the legacy of his late father by penny pitching people off the street, or as we see in the comic, he goes from stealing wallets to stealing identities, which I thought that was a pretty funny scene early on when two cops bust him and says, "Why are these wallets empty?" And he goes, "There's more money in stealing identities than actual bills." So I read this comic, and quite frankly, I very much enjoyed it because, much as I love my superhero stuff, and I do love my superheroes, if you can do, especially in a comic format, if you can do a crime story well, especially when it comes to the writing and the art, then you suck me in. And one thing I would love to highlight is that the artist, who is Sean Phillips, who, at least according to the book, he was well known as the artist of Marvel Zombies. So with that, the guy, if he wants to do very gritty, very, like, how would you put it, gritty and grounded. And grounded art, he's a perfect guy for this type of story. And the whole comic is mostly followed through Leo's perspective, and he is the narrator. So if this was like a movie, he is the guy that is doing the monologues, like in an old noir film from the 40s. So it has that format as he is going place to place and meeting different characters throughout the story. You get some early crime action in the beginning. There is humor scattered throughout, nothing over the top, but except for one scene, which is to share. The main character, he is roommates with a friend of his father's who used to be an old thief back in his heyday. Unfortunately, that thief, who we learn his name is Ivan, he is growing up there in age, and he has a case of Alzheimer's. And to top it all off, he is also a heroin addict. And we are introduced to him when Leo goes back to his apartment, and the first thing he sees when he enters is the live-in nurse that he hired for Ivan. She goes after him and tells Leo, that Ivan keeps stealing her underwear, and that she's had enough of it. And from right there, she quits. So that's how we're introduced to our Ivan character.
That's an interesting choice.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of pervy, which it is pervy. It's not very explicit. It's definitely meant to show that Ivan is not right in the head. And in fact, a page later, after the nurse walks off, we see here that how badly the Alzheimer's is affecting Ivan, as every time he looks at Leo, he thinks he's looking at at Leo's father, who was his old friend and his old buddy from back then. And Leo, has to play along because he feels there's no way he can really give him the help he deserves. So that's really is what the sole motivation for our character is that he's taking out this big job because he is seeing how much help and how much this life has cost to a dear friend of his. And so he's going to take one last big job for the corrupt cops of, I think this is New York City. Not but any cities, could be Chicago for all I know. He'll take that one last job so he can get paid and make sure that his friend Ivan gets all the help he needs. So that's the beginning parts of the story, and it's a 5-issue series. So in the future, I'm hoping to read more and see how that story progresses.
I guess I'd like to know, does this feel like the kind of comic that if it were a movie, you'd still want to watch it? Or is this one of those things that it's such a comic book that you can't really see this working as a movie, like in terms of pacing. I mean, I don't mean in terms of like the material. I just mean in terms of the pacing. Do you think this will make a decent adaptation-wise type of thing, like maybe show, miniseries?
On paper, this story, Criminal, there's not a lot of fantastic. There's not a lot of, if any, fantastical elements. It's a very grounded story, and in fact, if you were to adapt this into a movie or a TV show, you actually could, in faithful to the material in terms of the writing. But what the comic format gives, that's going to be hard to do in actual adaptation, is the art. Because a comic needs good writing. That is definitely for sure. But at the end of the day, a comic also needs good art, and that's what Criminal has. It with Sean Phillips' skill, he really makes sure that we're looking at a very seedy world of criminals and liars and thieves. And the page I'm showing here shows exactly that. With the choice of coloring, for example, you see our character on here on page 19. He's going down the stairs to an underground bar, and with the way it's colored, you have the pink neon coming from the sign that's coloring the whole page the way that it looks like. And then the next panel, you get the shady, not shady, but you get that dim, dirty barroom light appearing out from the fluorescent light outside, and then you get into the actual bar, and it's this disgusting old color things that are worn out, grimy, and so forth. So this is not to say this is not impossible in an adaptation, but you need to have like a good cameraman and a good director with eye for detail to make sure things are lighted in such a way that it evokes that style. So to answer your question, Ghetto, this could definitely be adapted, but because it's a very simple story, it's not gonna have that same flair as reading it, especially with especially with the basically the colors and the inks. To me is what makes this art stand out to me. Especially in this bar scene, everyone's is in a tinted yellow, and because of that, it gives everyone a very old, washed out, and dirty look to it while they're in their bar, and that same kind of rule applies for every setting they go to. Like this page here on page 18, he's talking with another. Leo's talking with another character in the story. They're outside, and it's dark out, and it's raining, so you got a lot of blues here. With this panel right here, actually screaming at him with a good contrast because she's red in anger for something that happened in the past, and so you got this. What's the contrast here? You got this contrast shot with her that contrasts with the rest of the environment on the page.
So, yeah, off the break in the page. So I see what you mean. I think I was only asking because usually I feel like a lot of these type of comics don't get adapted because they're comics that really kind of work better for, being comics because the art helps carry it. And if I feel like if stuff like this does get adapted, something is lost because, it's not the art. The art isn't there anymore. Exactly. The only comic I think that managed to make this transition the best is Sin City. And that's because that's less of an adaptation and more of a translation.
Yes, and there was a madman behind the scenes by the name of Robert Rodriguez who wanted to keep that style. God bless him. So it's still crazy.
It's just Spy Kids Rodriguez.
Why did he have to be dedicated to Spy Kids? He could have done so much.
He can still do it.
He tried.
Get you a man who can direct Sin City and Spy Kids.
He is that kind of genius.
Not really, because he also did the sequels.
Art. How dare you, Hat? How dare you?
I'm sorry. Did you see Sin City: A Dame to Kill for? Or whatever it was called?
Less said about that, the better.
I can't tell you a thing about it, but I remember what happens in the comic book, so that counts.
That doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I will say a thing about in reading this as you go through the pages, like you're describing it, but I am very glad that I'm looking at this on a desktop, and I'm hopeful that people watching this at home are doing the same thing, because in the question of whether this can be like adapted to a TV show or movie, you could have made this a movie probably 2 decades ago, and it could have been an interesting miniseries. Again, like in the older day, when people just have this strange talent about them, where they'll just obsess over the source material and just focus on it if they're a bigger fan of it. But with this kind of thing, this has to be a comic, because were you to make it a show now, you lose so much of that. Like you're having the woman's face. It's that, like, it focuses so hard on, hey, look, here's a reminder of your past, the red rage of, hey, your rules person's life, you're an actual, it's, you lose a lot of that when you're just watching a reverse shot with how fast they would actually make it. With this, you get the seamy underbelly of the bar, and even the next few pages with this guy talking about Frank, the Dick Tracy insert here, that also has to do with the story. It's just, you lose so much of that if it's just a TV show where they probably shot like the scene in like a day, which is something they would do. Which is, no offense, you can make something really good fast, but you get so much of this one bartender's character through these 2 pages, and I don't even know if he shows up again after that. But as you're talking about it, I was reading their dialogue. It's like you get the history of them being involved, and him having the respect for the guy pissing on this one young dude. You lose so much in like a show or movie, because you also don't have inner monologue, or when you do have dialogue, they have to cut it down supremely, even if it's going to be a movie. And I find that in a comic, you can have the characters actually become more ironically characters, because we probably won't see them very much. Or like you say, this is a 5-part story, so maybe this is just set up for what they're going to do later.
Now,
I don't know.
Now, I would say, to provide a little critique, there are some panels where you can tell that it is a trace, like this panel here. I'm sure, which is not a slight. You know, it is it's an establishing shot of a background that they are in a Chinatown type of place. You know, easy establishing shot. Now, it just sometimes it's funny what the artist chooses to trace, because I swear there's a page coming up. Let's see if I can. I'm on. See if I can reach it there. Okay, so it's on page 25. So this is near the end of the book. We're introduced to our last character, who's going to be part of the job. And there is a panel in the bottom where, I kid you not, it's the third bottom panel in the middle. I mean, sorry, the third bottom panel. I'm sorry, second.
I can see it.
And I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the man on the left, and all I can think is that Joey Diaz? And I'm like, wait, he looks so much like Joey Diaz. And then the way that it's shot, I'm going, and this came out in 2006. Did Sean Phillips traced over a scene from Spider-Man 2 in the train scene?
Oh my God, I was genuinely about to ask you that.
Yes.
You want to get to him, you gotta go first.
You can see Phil Lamar, he's right there over the bubble.
Phil Lamar.
And as soon as you said, hey, with tracing, I was like, oh my God, it's a trace.
and
no way.
And you know what?
I'm gonna look that scene up real quick just to see it real quick.
There's, I doubt it's 1-to-1, but Joey Diaz, the comedian, he has a very distinguished face. So even if you try to draw a generic version of that type of New Yorker type of guy, you look at him still like, that's Joey Diaz. So
there's a reason why everyone got him and big P word from The Sopranos mixed up, because they're both ostensibly the same kind of archetypal character. He just matches that the big guy with the Hawaiian shirt. He's got the accent. He is that guy that you do see everywhere if you live in that area.
He's Italian.
He's well, I wasn't gonna say that.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
So yeah,
just pulled up like a quick picture of the scene just to see it, and yeah, that pretty much is Phil Lamar right down to the outfit.
Oh my God.
And I think I know that scene because it's Dr. Octopus looking at them, and Diaz gets in front of the camera and he says, "You gotta go through me." I think it's that.
So yeah, so there is a so there is, it's not egregious if any, and it's a more of a utility type of trace. We're not like tracing the entire book, but there's little things like that
Land territory.
yeah. So it's little things like that. We're like, all right, if you never see Spider-Man 2, it's like a normal panel, but I've seen that movie too many times, so that's why I was able to recognize this shot.
It activated in our brains. Like our actual Spidey sense just went off.
I tingled.
That does make me happy to know that working men like Sean Phillips and with that same thing, Ed Brubaker, they get a lot of their work from things that they knew fans, like the fans they have, are like, okay, well, they're not going to be incredibly familiar with this material we're going to pull from. So Sean Phillips just being like, oh, there's a scene in Spider-Man, I'll take that. Is it because it's a scene on a subway? Oh yeah, sure. Not like, let's just take stuff from superhero things. No one's going to understand that. We're not really superhero guys.
And also want to give credit because I love the coloring in this book. The coloring is done by Val Staples, so to give that person credit. And with
Look
that,
at the lettering.
that is a great question. I think, let's see, is there a proper...
I just want to mention that the lettering in this book is phenomenal. This is some good lettering. You don't really notice it much. The balloons seem like they melt into the background. They keep with the consistent style. Not a lot of wacky shapes or stretched to fit the text.
And I would and also if you can kind of tell, the actual word balloons, they're not perfect circles.
Yeah, and it kind of fits with the tone of the story too. Yeah, it has that word balloon style that you don't notice that you're reading it.
Yeah, it's like I think I know what you're saying. It's one of those things where your brain like corrects the shape of it, so you don't see the minor imperfections that like this a word balloon would have. Where it's when you look at it from far, oh, it's a circle, but you look at it up close, you can see the little angular points of the drawn circle.
Yeah,
it feels more personal because Sean Phillips, or maybe even someone else, like he drew the scene with the speech bubbles, with the dialogue in mind, the conversation would be happening, and not like in a superhero comic where the entire art is created and then there's the story aspect where you have to put the bubble in later and it looks really obvious.
Oh, and I do also want to say that some little backstory that around the time they were making this comic, they planned it out for a whole year. So this was something that Brubaker and Phillips were working on very diligently, and it shows in the writing and the art, and even in the lettering. Oh, and right here in the end is some more. It's basically a what's that fancy written word type of thing. It's too short for a short story. It's shorter than that.
Shorthand?
No. It's a prose. It's a prose.
Oh.
There's a prose at the end where they take one of the minor characters in the setting, and he actually provides some backstory from his point of view of one of the of a moment that happened. So there's also a little bit of that very small world building you get into the world of criminals. That's done through
that's neat.
That's done through prose, and unfortunately, I cannot find any type of lettering credit, so I'm gonna assume it could be Sean Phillips.
I can see that definitely. Maybe it says art and letters. Okay, Ed Brubaker. Oh yeah, that's probably it. Maybe even Ed Brubaker did the lettering himself, because it looks like it's just their two names. Yep. So I wouldn't be surprised that Ed and him just did all of it.
And Val Staples.
Well, colors by Val Staples, of course.
but
that page, Chris, you're right. This is technically a Marvel comic, a subsidiary of Marvel. You're right.
See, I can
say because
we do mainstream books too. But no, I think this eventually became like actually indie, since Marvel don't do imprints no more.
I guess after this imprint went down, they were like, "You keep all this. We don't want this touching our new MCU stuff."
I want to go off on one little thing I noticed in the book. On page 3, where they're having the heist in the bank, one of the guys' mask is Batman.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
You know what?
I didn't even notice.
I'll double. It looks like Batman, but I'll double check
We're
because
seeing it from the
Legally
side.
distinct Batman.
Distinct because
I mean, it's white.
also, you are exactly right. And I was confusing it because I see the page you're talking about, and there is a gunman wearing what definitely looks like a Batman mask. But I was confusing it with the mask Leo was wearing because he has a mask with similar ears, except that's full white, and he looks like you could either say a cat with the big pointy ears or a dog with the big pointy ears. Either one works. So the good eye. But that's enough for my books. So that's Criminals #1 by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I highly recommend anyone, especially if you're into crime stories and gritty crime stories with very flawed characters, but yet still enjoyable. Then definitely check it out. We'll go on into our next comic to be presented. Go ahead, Chris. Show us what you got.
All right. Once again, I'm Christofer Ryan, and I love comic books. And I had a bit of trouble searching the best book for this situation. I was gonna pick Batman 422. DC Comics aren't for kids, but I thought this wasn't good enough. And then I got to Spectre 13, going around little 14 here. Wow, that book was a downer. You can't do that. And I got to this next one because it sets up this one specifically, Spectre 14, and I finished it, and I thought, wow, everyone has to see this. You all have to see it. You have to see this amazing, magical little book.
All right,
You all have to.
All right, then, Chris, you're all right. Chris, you're hyping it up. Give us the rundown. What's the summary of this comic?
Okay, so this comic is in the 1992 series. This is by John Ostrander, who wrote the Suicide Squad, the good one, the good comics that everyone pulls from now. He wrote a bunch of comics at the same time, or maybe they were a couple years apart, but he was definitely writing Suicide Squad around the time of writing this. Maybe it was a year after. So this is Spectre number 14. The issue before this, the Spectre is having a conscience of faith, which is being affected by Jim Corrigan. He thinks, what more can I do to fight crime and the injustices of evil? And this priest here recommends to him, hey, how about it's the inverse. It's like the John Ostrander's natural critique of Denny O'Neil's famous Hal Jordan page, where the older man tells him, you fight for alien lives, be it they purple or green lives, but what do you do for black lives, Green Lantern? Can you tell me that? And Hal Jordan says, I can't. I simply can't. John Ostrander takes that to the nth degree, where he has the priest talk to the Spectre and say, what about the war in Vlatbava, which is the place Count Vertigo reigns over? It's like Latveria, but nicer. And they're having a civil war. And he goes, how about you just go down there and help out? You use your powers to settle the dispute. And so the Spectre does. He gets Count Vertigo and the general together, who they are at odds, and he raises the land to see who is actually at fault. The dealings of humanity, this is what John Ostrander's series actually focus on, is that Spectre is a very gray character in that he operates in black and white extremes. But the whole niche is that the gray of humanity, he cannot really fathom, or like a machine, it does not compute with him at all. You're either evil or you're not. So he raises the land and sees that the warring factions' ancestors, dating back to the Dark Ages that they fought over this land with, of Vladava, they're all evil. He dictates they were all evil, and they had to go. So he makes them go. He makes the whole country go. And in 2 pages' time, it is not. I did not want to showcase it. It was very dark. He leaves Vertigo and the general behind as their punishment. They fought over the land and they now own it. These 2 survivors of, I would say, a Holocaust. The reason I bring all that up is Phantom Stranger is, hey, buddy, I gotta ask you something here. You're kind of the one who made him do that. And because this priest knows who the Phantom Stranger is, and he knew who the Spectre was too because of his dealings with some metahumans. Phantom Stranger is like, hey, your words to him was a big deal. Vladavava was racked. This priest is having a hard time dealing with that was his work because he directly told the Spectre, hey, yeah, you should probably do more. So he's saying, was that me? The Spectre, what he did that? Yeah, I want 2 sugars in my coffee. Anyway, everyone in there, they were evil. They were all murderers. Will you do that? And what I thought was so funny and why I wanted to cover this is that it is not supposed to be funny. But he says, even though the Phantom Stranger is like, dude, tell me exactly what you said to the Spectre. I gotta figure what it is that he misconstrued as being advice to go commit a universal hate crime. And this guy says, God help me, I cannot break my vow. Normal man, do you understand what we are dealing with here? This is the Spectre. So he gives the backstory. Most of this book is a flashback. Before the Spectre, God's right hand of dealing justice was XIII. It is essentially a retcon of what the Spectre is. So God in this is the wizard Shazam. So XIII was Black Adam, then Spectre afterward would be Captain Marvel proper. So this is the Spectre. He's the one that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and he turned Lot's wife into salt. I shit you not, PG-13, right there. He's the one who. So, Hack, I also chose this because you have a lot more of a religious background than I'd say a lot of people I know. I grew up very religious, so I knew what they were doing here, but the more religious references that come into play, I feel like you have more to say on the subject. So, in this instance, they all just look back. So in the Bible, they all look back and saw this. So that is the horrendous thing.
You know, if the Spectre was biblically canon, I can understand why Lot's wife wanted to turn around so she could see what was destroying Sodom and Gomorrah.
And Lot had the right idea to just not look at the weird the metal album cover that was occurring. So we have more Bible in biblically canon things with just the Bible now. And I keep saying the Bible because while these are hieroglyphics, they are directly talking about the more well-known the Hebrew Joseph was sold it by his brothers into Egypt, and Egypt is spelled with an A-E-G-Y-P-T, so I assume that is just what Egypt was called. But the dynasty, so this is like real life. I guess we want to go with the Bible being canon to our world. The Pharaoh was like, "Come live with me, Joseph." Except this guy who was also there the entire time, Naboo, the fucking guy who is Dr. Fate.
That
he was there.
That Naboo.
That Naboo, he's got the yellow helmet there too in the hieroglyphic.
Are they white?
What's that?
Are they white?
So if you're from Africa, why are you white? Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
So far, it seems like Ostrander wanted to make his Bible fan fiction with the DC characters so far.
I can't believe to understand the DC universe, I have to read the Bible now. Thanks, Ostrander.
So don't worry. The Ostrander deals with a lot of Bible stuff, but Hack, you are correct, because when I was reading this, I was thinking with these splash pages and Bible story, I was like, okay, I know I own like 2 copies of the Bible. I grew up religious. I know what they're doing. And I thought I would like to see the fallout of the Spectre destroying an entire fucking country. Unknown innocents, unfathomable number of them all wiped away because he said they were quote unquote bad. They were bad. They were bad. And so the priest is seeing this backstory the Phantom Stranger is projecting into his brain. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, so is this just retconning of the Bible? Why am I seeing this? And little did I know, I have to let you all to listen. I'll go a little faster, but you all have to know. You have to see what is coming. Okay. It is all worth it in the end. So yeah, as you all have read the Bible, Ghetto, you've read the Bible all the time. You know the story. Moses was spared by all the killing of the firstborn. Not the firstborn, but all the kids were drowned in the Nile, and that's why Moses, the Superman insert. So technically, this has happened 3 times in this universe. A last-born son is saved from a terrible fate.
You can say a son of El.
So why, if Naboo is here, Dr. Fate's precursor, why doesn't he stop a lot of the stuff that the Pharaoh was just allowed to get away with in the Bible? That is not explained. But he does do, you will see. Something is going after the Pharaoh. I better stop him. The Pharaoh, for some reason, is being protected by me, Naboo, a Lord of Order. So Naboo, having future knowledge, I would like to think, but not really, because, you know, he's super up to date on the latest shit. He's Lord of Order. Sees the Pharaoh being killed by this, and decides to still follow him. And this is the coolest thing.
Like something out of
at least that this comic series does.
Like something out of a Conan comic.
Anyway, Naboo jobs to the Spectre for the first time. He's like, damn, I jobbed to this thing. Whatever that thing was, it killed my Pharaoh. Time passes, and now he has more of a Dr. Fate-ish home.
Are we about to make the Spectre the angel of death that comes down and takes the firstborn? Is this where this is going?
Oh, well... So as we go on... So as we go on, the Pharaoh throws all the Naboo, in his infinite wisdom of order, which I guess is order because it's not directly chaos related, he decides to spare all the children from just being killed, and they just work their whole lives to death. That's a pretty good thing for, I guess, a Lord of Order. This is why I can see Ostrander doesn't like this guy.
He's a Lord
and we come upon the
Lord of Good.
The Lord, exactly right. I keep forgetting about that.
Look,
Okay,
this is a slight
right.
tangent. I want to test your Bible knowledge. On that page, where we see 2 men speaking to the Pharaoh. This is a trick question. This is a tricky question. Who is actually speaking in that word balloon?
Let my people go, that they may worship me in the wilderness. Thus spoke the Lord our God. So that guy's name is Aaron.
Yep, you got it. That's Moses' brother, Aaron. All right.
Okay,
I just want to test you a little bit. All right, continue on.
Because I remember like reading this, and I was like, okay, good. They remember that Moses wouldn't be by himself in this, like the King of Egypt does.
Prince of Egypt.
So also, I like Prince of Egypt. Hey, let my people go. And then Aaron is the one who says, check this out. Snake into a stick, isn't that cool? We are not impressed. Naboo, check this out. Everyone can do that. So Naboo and his wizard friend turn them also into snakes. They have a little snake battle. The reason I'm going over this so fast is because just the Bible is happening. And I keep saying that, but it's like the HAC, what were they called? The tempests, the locusts, those kind of things.
The 7 plagues. Yeah.
The 7 plagues, yeah. That they're all just happening off camera, and every time they deliberately say Naboo does it too, and the Pharaoh immediately stops being impressed by Moses' magic. And Naboo's gonna go sleep. Phantom Stranger's still around because, well, he would be. And he is telling him that, the firstborn sons are all about to be murdered. And Naboo says, why would you tell me? I'm telling you because it's going to happen, and you cannot stop it. You don't want to get involved a second time. And so Naboo grows a pain and goes to stop it. It's a crazy fog is going through the doors of all of the firstborns who have the red door painted with blood, with sheep's blood.
Mm-hmm.
Someone doesn't have a painted door, so you know what that means. The Spectre is coming for that child. So, when you're reading about David and Goliath, the Bible, the action Bible, just
David and Goliath, not Davy and Goliath.
So,
A boy and his dog is a Spectre.
put these pages back into the action Bible because they are sorely missed. Naboo, Dr. Fading it up, getting tan like an Egyptian for some reason when he changes into his alter ego. What do you think that says?
Blackface.
It's black. Well, you can't tell where his hair went. So Pierce Brosnan here,
Egypt face.
He gets all Egypt face. He turns into Carl Sands, if you want to go by the JLU story. He is the instrument of destiny, of fate, and no matter what force you represent, I will prevail. This is still the Bible, so he fails. And look at that doofy face, Tom Mandrake. Someone has a bias. Someone has a bias. So the reasoning is that, well, everyone knows that the Spectre is the spirit of vengeance. He is the right hand of God. So, of course, God is much stronger than something that he created. So, of course, he would be. So that's why Dr. Fate loses. All of the firstborns are killed off camera. And you can tell it totally happened because this is still the Bible and the Pharaoh's son, as in canon, was killed. And that is primarily why he goes himself to confront Moses with Aaron. And in doing so, the Pharaoh also has a pretty good Ostrander adapting it, where it's that these gods are evil and they act of deceit, whereas I have all the power of a god, but I'm still a mortal man. I will go and face Moses by myself. So we're now nearing the Moses confrontation, which is one of the many climaxes of the Bible. We're coming on to page 22 and the final panel, if I remember right. And this is what I needed to show all of you. This is what made me decide that I wanted this comic as a showcase. And that's primarily why, in retelling of the story, I've kind of lacked in. I had to really quickly at the beginning talk about who John Ostrander and Tom Mandrake are and how their personalities just work so well together that they were able to create this.
Oh, that's fucking sick.
Wow.
So everyone knows the story.
The first Beyblade. Oh, come on.
So everyone knows the famous story, eh? Well, little did you know, it was divine intervention.
The Spectre part of the Red Sea.
Not only did Moses he didn't part the Red Sea. The Spectre was the Red Sea. And you know what that face means if you know anything about the Spectre and if you know anything about religious retellings. You know exactly what is about to happen.
Death.
Death by ironic punishment. This is what made me want to showcase it. And you get a much better thing here. If this up here was here, this should be framed and put in the fucking Vatican. This face, framed, edited onto this. This should be in the Vatican for a secret knowledge you are not allowed to know. The Spectre's big Skeletor grin about to crash down on this man. It wasn't hubris. It was not the folly of man and Moses showing that your actions have weight. It was a big green cloaked superhero. Here it is. Here it is.
This is what comic books should be.
This is why I wanted to show you all had to see this.
This is the modern.
This
is the modern divine comedy.
This is the divinest comedy. If John Ostrander or Tom Mandrake could either be Dante or Virgil working hand in hand, and their pencils and inks were ebony and ivory, and they were shooting 666 shooters to distance into the front of my 17 Bristol board and making this Hideki Kamiya jealous of this work of art he has created. I am so mad that I don't have the physical copy so that I could frame this and put it on the back of my desk. So that I always remember.
It looks like he's having a great time, by the way.
Well, the horses don't even have any concept of what is going on. They just know that water is killing them. But the human pharaoh, they know this thing is there. They can see it, I hope.
Stylish Bible action.
Stylish Bible action. Perfect. Terrific. So we're now back in the modern day, where Phantom Stranger is like, yeah, that happened. Why did you show it to me? You should have showed it to the human soul he has tied to him. All right, anyway, back to the. It's been 26 pages. Back to the story. The people who survived the destruction was General Hamza, who was a Muslim, and Count Vertigo, a Green Arrow villain, played by Steve Bloom. He survives the Holocaust of his country and the guy he hates. So yeah, that was your fault. Anyway, that was your bad. He is crying. He's kind of a dick who inadvertently caused the cost. I'm not really going to blame Spectre because he was already being written this entire run as having a computer glitch. So, Phantom Stranger leaves us off with a pretty good pun. I am not sanguine about his judgment. You see, the Spectre's god is not your god of mercy, but of vengeance, and he rarely turns the other cheek.
So, Chris, you took us to a long, long journey. And you know what? As long as it was worth it because I could see why you fell in love with this comic.
Yeah, and because I tried to
right after this.
Go quickly past the spoiler on the cover, the Pharaoh being found by this ocean of threat and the pyramid. So yeah, I will say this. If it wasn't clear, this comic is great. It's an amazing creative team. Joe Phillips does a very good Tom Mandrake impression. Tom Mandrake does the art for pretty much most of the series, and that's why I kept confusing him. But Joe Phillips is he deserves his amazing legacy because he brought us these three amazing moments: Eclipso killing the Ark, failing to kill the Ark, Solomon Grora being destroyed. The real third and final legacy of this amazing book, which is already great, but this is just so funny because if you stop to consider the ramifications of the Bible being canon to the DC universe and how these characters were involved in it, you get moments like this where people have to see this. This is why comic books are so important. You could never do this in a show. You could never do this in a movie. You could not.
No, not unless you're big
Filmmakers and showrunners are cowards.
Let's go ahead and get someone else to platform. Next on the panel, Dr. Crow, please.
No, don't do me. I have a dog barking in the background.
Wait, what?
So you might want to do Ghetto until the dog calms down.
Okay.
1 minute later.
The dog's quiet now. If we actually want to switch over back to me.
No.
Yeah, let Crow go. I got to get my shit ready.
Oh, good. Order let Ghetto. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Crow. Why you got the opportunity?
All right. So I brought an indie comic today called Wolf and Batsy. This is by Brian, and I'm probably going to butcher this last name. Bog, Baugh.
Bow, maybe?
Bow. I don't know. I've been following it for a while. Don't know how to spell the last name. The version I brought is Bloody Weirdo Comics print. But Wolf and Batsy was under the print of Alterna Comics for a few years. He's recently parted ways with Alterna earlier this year, 24. He's done everything in the story himself. So we only got one creator, self-published, self-owned. So Wolf and Batsy is a callback to old-style horror movies. Like somewhere between the 1930s and 50s setting.
Okay, so we're talking like Bela Lugosi, Dracula, and of that ilk.
Yeah, old classic Universal dark monsters. Yeah,
gotcha.
He originally got the idea when he, as a like one-off thing, he drew the vampire who would become known as Batsy for just a print. And he's like, I like this character. I bet I could do something with her. And eventually he put together the story about a werewolf and a vampire just traveling around trying to find a home. So as you can see, the art style, the book is black and white.
Beautiful black and white.
Beautiful black and white. And you can definitely see
these
like
90s indies comics, the black and white.
Oh yeah. Absolutely gorgeous art. I love this style, and it really does kind of like really hammer in the home of like the black and white horror aspects of the book. I like this frame here. What pages are we on? Panel 4 here. Just look at this. Still a wolf here. It's just like got the like he feels like the big ugly monster.
I like how like one part of his face looks a bit off compared to the other.
Kind of like it almost feels like an old horror mask that would have been in the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. It still looks really impressive. You feel the danger, feel the the stakes here. And then, of course, throughout the story, we see Wolf chasing this farm girl. And then Batsy comes in, stops her from getting killed. Kind of getting the buildup of there's something not quite right with Batsy, something strange with her. I love the tendril dress, how it like just floats about. And this smoke-like design. Of course, the comic does not shy away from violence. It just doesn't just jump right into it.
Poor goat.
I'm sorry?
Is it a poor... Well, no, that's a sheep. Never mind.
Yeah,
that was a goat.
Sheep, goat, something like that. Which is what she was talking about, because the farmer girl tried to stop him from eating one of her sheep. And it ultimately just announced nothing. He got 2 of them.
So before... Yeah, the art's like really good. I really love this very limited style. Like you get exactly what's going on. Directly in front of the moon, killing the sheep for food. The thing that perplexed me at first, when she said "get to the car," I thought, oh, like a horse-drawn carriage, because the way the woman was drawn, I thought it was very period. Especially with how Batsy is, and like it's in the old world, like Transylvania. Especially the gun looked very old, but now seeing the next page, there is a car.
There is a car. It's a very 1950s style car.
This is where I would call the hook. This is the hook to me of like, no, they have cars. I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of got me right in there, cold open to no, it's. Sorry, I just really like that.
Yeah. And that's a constant style. Brian has said on multiple accounts that Wolf and Batsy is really just an outlet for his childish tendencies. So it's just everything he found cool as a kid is going to be in the book. There is a later issue of Wolf and Batsy where they fight a guy in a gorilla suit who was an old movie actor.
That's beautiful.
And it's all based on this very specific class of actor who would just dress up as gorillas, and that was their whole job.
Oh, that's right. When you said that, all I could think of is, I guess, the actor who would dress up in the gorilla suit every week for, not the real Ghostbusters animated show, but the other Ghostbusters show with the talking gorilla.
You mean Filmation's Ghostbusters?
Yeah, that one.
Ghostbusters.
That was an actual Hollywood career, being like the guy in the gorilla costume.
Wolf and Batsy, the story is usually told non-linear, so each issue could be them in a different period. As they're just like going about. They arrive here at the Psalms Hotel. And just love this old innkeeper, got the very old style. It's actually a fairly nice hotel room, I would think. So the wolf's real name is Kelvin. Batsy, we never find out what her real name is. According to just outside lore that we got, Batsy has been a vampire for so long she's kind of forgotten her human life. Of course, we have lots of vampiric lore. I forget the very specific type of vampire she is, but she doesn't need to be in a coffin. She doesn't need to be in the ground. But she needs to be in a mixture of blood and water, which is what she has here, and that's where she needs to rest for the day.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so we get this. It's just basically Kelvin just goes out and explores the town, which leads to this. I love this panel down here. And I do just love like this long shadow, and you see that he's got the wolf. Because Brian said he's paid very close attention to the actual mythology of werewolf and vampires to feed through the story.
Of course, as he's walking through town, and as you mentioned before, what time is this set in? Because we have a bar here with neon lights.
The Breakfast Club?
The Burlesque Club. Yeah.
The Burlesque Club. Like, we just saw two characters next to each other above.
Yeah.
One looks like he's from Mad Max, and the other's from, like, an EC comic. Like, EC, the horror one. The Weeper or something. And then you have a normal guy like Kelvin who happens to be a werewolf. That's what I really like, though, is that Kelvin just looks like a normal dude, and he's a werewolf.
I mean,
Everyone
look at
else
this
is
first
like-
panel here on this page. Like, look at it. Kelvin
Oh,
is not who you would think the monster is. Look at this witch over here.
I didn't even see that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at the witch standing next to Igor and whatever fish lips is here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably an Innsmouth citizen. You know what? Now that you said a lot of these characters are like caricatures and like references, it's like
Yeah.
I feel like that dude at the bottom in the hat of
down here is-
yeah, that guy. I feel like he's
H.P. Lovecraft. That is Lovecraft. He's got H.P.
Oh, no
elements.
way.
See, I'd have thought he was Herbert West.
I'd actually
Animated. Yeah, that's who I thought he was.
Yeah, you know
Jeff-
you know
yeah.
what, Dr. Crow, when you said that this book is an excuse for Brian to just draw things he loved as a kid, you're not wrong. We can
Yeah.
definitely see it.
I'll let you know right now. The story, especially the first two issues, which are the same story, it's a continuation of a two-part story. Not much to write home about, but the art is spectacular. I love this. I love this very simplistic style. It grips you, it pulls you right in. You never feel lost. By the way, this priest with the eye patch in this I don't know what to call him. He's a wizard. We never see them again. They don't appear anywhere else in the book.
that sucks.
Oh.
I was thinking they were the foil.
I know.
I like the Van Helsing types, but whatever. Fine.
No, the
Well,
foil.
we're following Kelvin as he's going through this weird town.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are just natural passerbys, yo.
Also,
Yeah.
I guess that's-
also, Dr. Crow, confirm to me if this is true. But when I look at Kelvin, I look at his face, and I'm like, where have I seen this face before? And I gotta ask if you know this information, is Kelvin's design based off of Boris Karloff?
I do not know enough to confirm, but knowing Brian and the few times I've gotten to talk to him and just like listening to his interviews with him, it would not surprise me if it's based off Boris Karloff.
It's the eyes, man. It's the eyes, and
It's
the
the eyes.
and the high cheekbones.
I will say that Calvin gives off a slightly unnerving appearance without the cheekbones and everything, but he feels like perfect for a horror, old style horror movie, especially with what this comic's going for.
Not only that, but especially with that hair, he looks straight out of a '90s indie comic.
Yes, he does. So the original Wolf and Batsy, when he made it, that was way back in 1999.
Oh, okay.
And I think he's just now gotten to making the 7th one.
God.
He
Yeah,
does
so-
in like his spare time or when he's able to.
Yeah, for a long time he was doing animated projects for Disney.
My God.
Also,
Yeah.
So he's an established guy within the animation industry.
Somewhat. I believe he doesn't work there anymore. He's taken off to focus more on raising his kid and to focus on actually making Wolf and Batsy, because he was with Alterna for a long time, and I think he got like 5 issues out underneath them, like 5 brand new issues. Because Wolf and Batsy was just this. It was just these 2 issues for a very long time. There's a preamble at the very beginning of the book talking about his journey with them and trying to get them out. He's left Alterna. I'm not going to get into that. There's a lot of drama with that. But yeah, I just love the book. By the way, you were talking about foils, how we thought the priest and the wizard here were going to be the foils. No, they're introduced in this panel right here. It's the farm girl from before and this bartender. That's our foils. Yeah.
That's so lame. Well, I mean, it's still
it makes sense within the context of everything else being weird. Of course, the most normal looking things would be the foils here. I see
Yeah.
it.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do love how you mentioned like she comes in, she starts doing the whole mad ramble, crazy. I've seen the monster, and you all seen like how this sing this song dance goes. The person comes in, warns of the monsters. The townspeople are like, "You're just crazy. Get out of here." No, they instantly believe her.
Wait, monsters
like-
are real? Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, monsters are a confirmed reality, and they're supposed to be a backwater town, so these people are super superstitious. So they're all it's immediately mob.
Oh, that's how angry mobs get started so fast.
Yeah.
I just want to take time to appreciate the pig nose eye patch big guy with the mom tattoo. Great design right there.
He's also grabbing that girl in that panel there.
Oh, no, he's not grabbing. He's pinching her.
Oh right. No, he's fine.
Oh man.
Glad you mentioned that this guy worked in animation because this is the kind of thing I'd probably love to see animated.
I don't think he ever got to do anything like this. Like I said, he was working for Disney.
I know,
And
but
he was thrown into the children's department. Like I said, he was doing Winnie the Pooh.
with the poo. Yeah, I mean, like, just these designs kind of work for animation. I'd love to see this animated.
I know. I would love to see this animated.
Like, there's so much life in every panel.
Very, very, very much so. I can't. Honestly, I'm staring more at the art than the actual dialogue. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
No, I'm still looking at both of these where I'm just like, man, this world is just established already, and this dude's talking about like, yeah, years ago we killed this witch. Let's go dispense some justice. I'm like, man, this world is awesome. It's like the Goons world. Everything's totally normal. Let's just do it.
I believe it's issues 4 and 5 where Wolf and Batsy are fighting a mad scientist with a legitimate brain monster.
That's very well. I guess I shouldn't say goon. That's very old school
You sold
science
me.
fiction.
I'll read this.
That's some Ed Wood nonsense right there. I'm up for it.
How dare you? How dare?
How dare I would?
How dare I mention Ed Wood in the genius of Wolf and Patsy? Ed Wood wishes.
And like the art has a lot hidden in it. This is to be like the 6th or 7th time I read this book. I've never noticed the pentagram behind the bartender here.
Oh shit! I mean,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
ooh.
No, these are a bunch of superstitious townsfolk.
Yeah. I've never noticed that before, but it really kind of sets up like, okay, here's our villain, by the way, just in case you haven't noticed it. And of course, the mob goes after the guy who's a stranger, who's new in town, just got here. He says, lady friend, obviously that's the witch, right? And
Oh,
just
his
some
name
fun-
was Kelvin Orlock.
Yeah.
That's so.
A
I
little
want
on the nose there, ain't we?
look at that shadow in one of the second to last panels there. He's like, look, he's got an ugly face. He's a werewolf. And then just he proves them right by just doing that evil thing.
Evil Blair,
then
run
he
away.
runs out
and
of the panel.
that is actually werewolf lore, too. The unibrow is a sign of a werewolf.
Damn, a lot of
I thought you
Mexican.
were going to say the sign of the werewolf is running out of a panel.
Probably.
He's running out of the page.
Damn, Dr. Crow. That means a lot of Mexicans are werewolves. Good lord.
Yeah, what do you think the chupacabra is? It's just a Mexican werewolf.
A goat sucker.
Oh, is
That's
that
what
true?
it is.
Oh my god, is that actually correct? It's that it's supposed to be a werewolf monster?
No, I'm making
thought
it
it was-
up.
Oh, I was gonna say, according to
Homeless
Billy and
guy.
Mandy, it's like a vampire, right?
It's just
Chupacabra.
some homeless guys sucking goats.
Uh-oh.
And of course, this here is the end of the first issue where the mad mob is breaking up. Half of them is going to go after Batsy. The other half is chasing Calvin through the woods. We get Calvin halfway through transforming because the full moon is out.
I do like how gnarly that mid-transformation looks.
Whoa, hold on. Hold on. Did Brian actually went out his way to make like these fake comic ads?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
He didn't have to do that. I appreciate he did, but that feels like it would have. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah, this is my favorite part of the book. It's just this. And like me and him had a long, I think we had like a 5 Twitter long conversation. This is about like how much we love this old sorts of stuff.
Man, I would love to how to draw girly cartoons. I would love that. I would love that book.
I also love how above the half dog is from Night of the Living Dead Part 2, where it's like still alive and barking, and the morticians just freak out and throw it on the ground.
Yeah. We got lots of little references in this thing too.
Dr. Crow, do you mind going back to the bar scene?
All the way back to the bar?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, right here. I just want to appreciate right on the left-hand page. What page number is this? 22.
22.
All right, so on page 22, on the third panel where we see Kelvin's eyes, it's probably just a general shading technique. But I like to think that is Brian giving a little nod to Sandman right there. The dream. I was gonna say, especially with the hair, dream sometimes eyes is depicted as in shadow, and you only see these white little dots. So it's, and considering this was originally back in the 90s when the Sandman books were much bigger, I could see it that could have possibly been an inspiration to at least use that sort of look for Calvin,
I think.
Even.
Well, there's no L in his name.
Kelvin.
Oh, Kevin. Yeah, it's just Kevin.
Yeah, okay, Kevin.
I thought it was Kelvin.
Kelvin with a C.
K-E-I-N. Yeah.
Oh,
I can't believe you lied to us, Crow. I'll never trust you again.
No, if anybody has known me for a long time, I have issues with names. I'm going to call you whatever I feel like, apparently.
Oh, also, I got appreciation for that simplistic shot with on page 18. That I love that. That is that is simplistic.
Leaving the door.
That is
That tickles a part of my brain.
It felt like a Batman episode's gonna go on right there.
You can pick up the digital PDFs on Global Comics right now. Wolf and Batsy.
I'm looking at the stuff about Global Comics, and the first result about, hey, did you mean Wolf and Batsy Global Comics? He has a YouTube channel where he does a commentary on the issues. So if you also want to get what his thoughts were on these issues, I guess check that out, maybe.
Ooh,
I did not know that was a thing. I'm going to have to go listen to that.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of a fan of on page 18, just the way those the trees and the branches are drawn. And like just the general, I don't know how to say, framing of that panel.
Composition.
It might be
the composition. 17. Thank you. I just really like the way that's drawn.
Yeah, everything's got that slight creepy feel to it, which you always want in your gothic horror. My wife has just given me some good news. You can buy physical editions of the book. He's got his own comic shop.
So with that, we can now finally go on to our final guest with our final showcase of the video. Ghetto, let's bring this all around and show us what you have to present.
Okay, guys, I've got Homesick Pilots here by the creative team of by Dan Waters. I know he worked on the current Deathstroke series at Image, and Casper Wingard. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've only read one other thing by him, and it's a series called All Against All. It's another indie book. I recommend checking that out. It's about aliens who kidnap the last human ever and a bunch of animals.
Interesting.
But the basic premise of Homesick Pilots is it's a punk band, and they're kind of aggressive. They're punks.
Right.
And there's this haunted house. Now, as you know, every haunted house setting, someone goes in. But before we get to that, here's the first couple of pages. This is kind of a page of things to come.
I see why you like this book.
Why? Because punk and ghosts.
No,
can guide you.
Yeah,
because it has
a mecca of sorts.
I don't want to confirm this, but I have to now because you brought it up. There actually is a mecha later on in this book, in this series. It ran for 13 issues. It came out back in 2010, 4 years ago. I think I actually mentioned this comic in a previous chill stream back when it was still ongoing. But this is kind of a foreshadow of things to come. This page here, page 5. Now, this is our main character, Amida. But we're going to flash back Now here she's talking about the Nuclear Bastards. That's their rival band. And here we are.
That's a good name for a band.
He's got the Joe Starr mark.
Oh, he does.
And this will make me pick this book up right here. Just punk bands trashing each other.
Underderivative trash. S word.
Like just the scene right here is like this opening is why I love this book. I didn't even know about the ghost. I picked it up based only on premise alone. You know, rival punk bands getting into it. I think I saw this book at just a comic shop, and I asked the owner, "Hey, what's this?" He was like, "I don't know," and I was like, "All right."
Perfect.
And I feel like that's the best way to buy comics like this. Oh, all right. I'll call for $4 for this. We're gonna go ahead and go. This is just a backstory on the house. My favorite page.
I was
very very minimalist.
I was being sarcastic. I really don't like pages like that in comics.
I was gonna say I actually kind of liked it because I was imagining what was actually happening during that, and not like it was supposed to be a loading screen for the comic.
I love that. Just whenever any black pages in their comics, loading screens for comics. Okay,
we're loading the next fight.
We're getting close to it. Marvel's putting QR codes in their comics.
That's
if you scan this QR code, you can go to an ad that we put in the dialogue.
Also, one thing I like is just the general like colors of this comic. That also sucked me in.
Yeah, it's that what's that? Not quite, but it's a little bit of that bisexual lighting. But
garish.
But
I love it.
But actually, no, that's actually what's funny. It's actually not that garish to how some other artists or even TV shows will use this type of lighting. It's actually not that garish.
I just love how this cop walked through a door
by himself. He was on a mission, ready to beat some teenagers up for playing loud music. And you know, there we go.
That pisses me off so bad.
Project
this right here.
Project X going down right down there.
I hate that because it's the definition of kids. It's just kids trademark.
If I remember correctly, this comic actually takes place in like either the late 80s or early 90s.
I saw in the beginning. It takes place in 1994.
There we go.
1994.
Not to 94. Back when the Super Nintendo was supreme.
Right. This is just them talking. You know, I also like these general vibes here. You know, that feeling of just hanging out with your friends late at night, just talking with your friends. See, right here, they're just talking about the house and how creepy it is. Ooh, spooky house. Here's some backstory.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I thought this was the Old West for a second. I'm sorry. It's just the saloon. I thought it was.
Yeah, he's just talking about a kid who was also at his group home that went into the house, and he never came out again. Alive.
But he did.
Alive.
That's him. Oh.
But he clearly came out. He's alive when he's walking out of the house.
Yeah. But look at him now. He's not there anymore, is he? Is he, Crow?
He got up and walked away.
And no,
I already like...
Here we go. The Nuclear Bastards.
It looks like someone I knew in college on the far right.
I feel like a lot of these people are people you probably knew in college.
Okay,
like this guy. I went to school with this guy right here.
Yeah, he's definitely the guy that sold the weed.
You know, it's funny you say that because he actually is doing that.
I called it. I called it. The beanie gave it away.
We're gonna get a little
profiling right here.
Toss them up between the homesick pilots and the Nuclear Bastards. I really like this page. 13. I really, really like this page. Like just I want to say the composition of it. The reds cut by the whites, cut by the white again.
Oh, okay. Let's see. It's a pattern: red, white, red, white.
Yeah, and then this little blue here to break it up.
The artist reminds me a lot of who did Paper Girls?
Oh, I know what you mean.
is right with that girl spitting out her cigarette.
Oh no, she didn't spit it out. She got punched.
Oh, oops.
She was trying to break up this fight. She's trying to break this fight up, and our protagonist, ladies and gentlemen, slugs the hell out of her.
I was trying to stop him.
Smoking's a bad habit.
Yeah, that's why she did it. She's punk with a heart of gold.
Now we've got the lead singer of the Nuclear Bastards talking trash about our hero. She killed them all.
Oh no!
By the way, they tell you what really happened later on in the story. I don't feel like doing it. Now we've got her, the downside, discussing things with her issues she's facing personally. Why she's into the punk lifestyle. It didn't choose her. She chose it.
She chose it. Oh, like an outsider.
Like, why are you back so late? Why do you stink of cigarettes and alcohol? Why do you have to be a foster kid stereotype?
In the 90s? They'll say that in the 90s. Like, I feel like they shouldn't say that in the 90s. Because that would just be par for the course.
It was Gen X, man. They were all disaffected. And, Crow's the oldest one here. You know.
I am?
Yes. Pack it in, Gramps.
Probably.
Oh, we're all the same age.
If you're gonna call yourself a doctor, you gotta add some mileage underneath you.
I'm only 31.
Our hero's gonna sneak into the. You're old.
Oh no, she's gonna go into the House of Secrets.
The future is now, old man. But now here comes the mystery.
Okay, so she spends the night in the house after the story was told.
Yeah. I like this page. I like this page right here. This right here. I think just the general layout of the house. We get to see the various rooms.
That's actually pretty.
Which, by the way, the comic does show you that each room has its own actual story with their own I don't want to say sub ghost that haunts each specific area.
The sub-story ghost.
Yeah, their own sub-story ghost.
Room has its own ghost. We need to get Luigi on this now.
Which, by the way, they do all come together towards the later half of this comic. And even then, take a notice right here. What's going on over here? The rival band is sneaking in.
Yeah.
And here's where saw. You thought it was just going to be a continuation of following the homesick.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. Them all meeting in the middle. Oh, wow. That would screw with my mind.
That's a very creative composition and layout for that page. Props to the artist.
This is a deep pull. I think it was like 10 years ago, maybe. But in Batman Court of Owls, that was the last time I think I saw them do creative stuff that made you do something. Like, you had to actually do something to get the scare of the book.
Well, there was that Flash annual from a while back where you had to keep turning and twisting the comic upside down to get the story.
That's what I'm talking about. They did that in Court of Owls. That's where I saw that. But I didn't know Flash did that too. But yeah, this right here, Homesick Pilots, that's the one where I'm like, oh, I forgot comics could do that. They could do interesting things.
All right, here's where we get the little confrontation. And we get the Nuclear Bastards trying to buy weed, but no, they're actually robbing him.
Oh
there
no,
you go, guys. You called it. He's selling weed. There you go. You guys called it.
Hack stereotypes win.
No. I profile, not stereotype.
That sounds a little worse.
Right after being told he's being robbed. I love this reaction. All right, then fuck off. I give my swear. Dude, I'm super serial. And I like how they're just ignoring that too.
They're ignoring
until
her,
this happens. He gets stabbed.
Oh my god!
Good lord! These punks ain't nothing to mess with.
That's how you know this is a real comic about real punks.
And this is where you have to frame the panel right here too. The very last panel, you have to frame that as this is the equivalent of like, all right, well, things are about to happen. Shit is about to get. It hasn't gotten real, but it's about to.
You'll see.
Oh god!
Ooh.
Did you guys forget the house is haunted?
I did.
That is a beautifully violent panel. Beautifully
you guys got
violent.
sucked into the punk atmosphere.
and I forgot that real magic was about to happen.
I thought we were
That's like
reading a teen drama book. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh God,
I like how that just pretty. You guys forgot the first few pages.
Yes,
I did actually. I thought that was like a dream.
I
sequence.
didn't forget. I didn't
I'm
forget.
going to be
Oh
honest.
my
with you.
God.
I was totally not bought into the book. I was just kind of sitting here. like,
No.
Decapitation!
the one panel with the house and them moving through it, that was cool. But then I was like, oh, it's just some like CW teen drama. No,
Doc, I wouldn't do that to you.
I was worried this was a Shadow Riverdale tie-in that you were showing me.
I wouldn't do
I was
that
gonna
to
get-
you.
You might.
Come on.
No,
give,
if we were gonna,
give our good friend Ghetto some faith. If he will never show a mediocre comic. He will at least show an interesting one at the very least.
and if I was gonna show a mediocre comic, I wouldn't do it for a video. I'd do it, as like, guys, come look at this.
Guys, quick! Look what I found in my basement.
Oh no, this guy got beheaded. This guy who I don't think had a single line of dialogue.
He had one line of dialogue. I don't remember what it was.
Get out of there, nuclear bastards and homesick pilots. See, I really like this right here.
Just-
Showing you just how twisted the house can be. It is alive.
This isn't real.
Just like in the Forest Temple.
Yeah.
Oh, the
You
Shining.
guys.
But there's your Shining reference.
And even then, they're still concerned about their friend. What did this place do to her?
It's like,
And
oh
he's
my
vomiting.
Wait a minute.
I mean, yeah.
Hold on. Ghetto, is this Teen Punk Monster House?
Oh no.
No.
I'm assuming it too.
Yes. This is Monster House.
No. Okay, the first issue is. When you put
Okay.
it like that.
Okay.
Okay.
As this comic goes on, it goes places. And now we come to a completely unrelated scene.
Meanwhile, at a luxury apartment in downtown LA.
Meanwhile, in the beginning of Pretty Woman,
Okay, so what we're seeing here is, well, you know what? I think I'll just cut to the next page to show you why we're here. You see, this horseshoe is actually from the house, and here's our hero. She's come to take it back.
what?
Hmm.
And that's how the first issue ends.
Wait a minute, is she Danny Phantom now?
No, she belongs to the house. They actually do explain what really happens later on in the book, but the first issue is all pretty much set up. I thought about showing an issue later on, but I felt like without the setup of what's going on, what we're actually dealing with here, the fact that you guys forgot that this was a horror book and thought it was a general teen drama, I feel like it was better to actually start from issue 1.
I don't know how true this is going to be, but because Paper Girls seemed like it was going to be a Spielberg 80s girl, like Stranger Things kind of thing. And then when I found out it had something to do with time travel, and then there were like adventurers through magic and crap, I was just completely not interested. This at least shows that there is magic from the very beginning. And I'm a lot more interested in these characters.
Yeah, throughout the rest of the series, you see our hero, Ami, you see her basically go through and try and collect ornaments that were important to the ghosts, well, the ghosts inhabiting the house. Now, that isn't the whole series. You see her do this, but while she's doing this, you see the other characters have their own thing going on. Like, these two stay central characters throughout the book. They play a pretty big role in the finale. The book is called Homesick Pilots, not House on Haunted Hill. Like, and I also really just like how the pacing of this book, the pacing and composition, how it's decompressed, but not completely decompressed. Like, this whole thing was 30 pages.
It did not feel like it.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. Like, this was one of those books where every month I was constantly checking to see if this had come out, because I hadn't quite put it in my pull list, because I was like, I don't know where this is gonna go.
You ain't ready to commit.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to commit until like I think issue 10, where I was like, well, I gotta know what happens now. And then the book was over. But like the last 3 issues.
Damn, Ghetto, that's how far it takes you to commit to issue 10? Or
Well,
were you
usually with
were you
usually
just
with like these
okay.
kind of indie books, I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen because by I want to say issue 7, it kind of throws some stuff your way that you just don't see coming because it does mix in the supernatural and the I guess sci-fi to say it. Since you guys kind of called it with the kaiju aspect of this book, it throws that in. And this was one of those books where I actually just put on music and read it. And I did have a specialized punk playlist just for this book.
It seems like you would have to with the central theme around like the band, and it's like you would have to have music going on with this. Due to I can't imagine reading this in such a way. It's like this has to do with like soundtracks of like older movies, and especially like the God, what was the name of it? The Toby Hooper movie.
Oh,
Like Poltergeist at the beginning.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of callbacks to horror movies in this series. Like they do a lot of callbacks to Poltergeist. I think there's a Texas Chainsaw callback. There's even a callback to House on Haunted Hill. But yeah, page 23 is probably my favorite page in this book. Followed by just this right here. This
is the twisty turny room. I would say I think even just with you, I'm sure it's going to be a much more effective experience when you read it. But the fact that as you were summarizing the story and how you were going through events, I do very much appreciate that the first issue really does try to ground in more of the personal relationships within the bands before they start. Okay, now let's start the actual adventure. Now we got our characters situated, settled, and how their relationships are.
And if I remember correctly, the events we're seeing right here happened, I think, a couple of issues later. Like I want to say in the issue 4 or 5 range.
So in media res.
Yeah.
How fancy, very artful.
And also, if you read this series, there's certain events that you'll only pick up on if you reread it.
Oh.
Like there's a certain like story beat that you won't notice unless you've actually reread the series. When I was reading it as it was coming out, I was caught by surprise, but when I reread it like I think a month after it came out, like after the whole series had finished, I was like, okay, yeah, I see it. Okay. I do highly recommend checking out Homesick Pilots because I think it's the kind of book that fell under a lot of people's radar when it was coming out. I never saw anyone talk about it. And that's why I wanted to showcase it. I think it's great, but I might just be biased because it's about the things I like, punk music and kaiju action and ghosts.
There was something that a guy from my LCS actually said this morning. He said if it's something that I'm really into and it ends up in the long box, that's kind of where I put it because I'm pretty sure that you all are gonna like it too. It's nice. Primarily for that reason.
That's the thing about like comic shops, man. You find a lot of gold digging through them crates, them boxes, like gold that nobody would ever like acknowledge. Like with you and your Spectre issue. Like if you saw that in a comic shop, that would just be like in a long box for $1, maybe $4. Like Homesick Pilots, I think after the series came out, I would see issues in long boxes for $2. And I'd always tell people, hey, you guys got to check this out. This was that book for me.
So we're hoping that with videos like ours, we can show you our audience and viewers that not only just don't judge a book by its cover, but you never know what you're gonna get with a random comic issue you see in your LCS. So not only do we, all of us, recommend our respective comics that we showcase for today, but we also want to encourage y'all that when you go to your comic shop or if you go to a store that does sell comics, take that risk on buying or getting that book that you're like, that if you're on the fence about, hey, at the worst case scenario, you miss a few dollars. That's really all you're losing in some time. But the good gamble is that you might find a great gold in the middle of all of that coal. So this is what I really want to hopefully inspire everyone with this video and hopefully monthly series. And with that, I want to thank everyone on this panel, Ghetto Machine, Chris, and Dr. Crow, for joining on the first comic roundup here on the Hack Jack Show. And I want to take this opportunity to allow our guests to promote themselves on any projects or social medias that they wish to promote. Starting with the good doctor. Go ahead, Dr. Crow, tell everyone where they can find you and all of your video content.
You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Crow Carnival. I stream when I get a chance over on Twitch, Dr. Crow Carnival, and YouTube, Dr. Crow Carnival. I upload my two comics, Smoke and Mirrors and All-American Red Squirrel, up to Tapas, and pretty soon we will be making PDFs sellable on Global Comics and Ko-Fi. Smoke and Mirrors, a wet married couple, Smoke and Mirrors, as they run their magic shop, and the comical adventures they and their friends get into. If you like 90s and 2000s style comedy adventures that you would have seen on Cartoon Network, this is a book for you. Visual PDFs, 10 issue pages coming up on Global Comics soon. And my second project is the All-American Red Squirrel. 10 years of training later, Riley Orion, aka the All-American Red Squirrel, has returned to Mapleville to protect the town from terrible thugs and flamboyant and villainous super criminals. With the help of Chief Baxter Booth and her own sidekick, Rascal Raccoon, stands against the forces of evil in a desperate attempt to prove that her late father was an innocent man all along. If you love your 90s style superhero adventures, this is the book for you, coming to Global Comics.
Thank you for that, Dr. Crow. And Chris and Ghetto, I know you guys don't have any personal YouTube or Twitch channels, but you can take this opportunity to promote any comics, any projects, or anything at all that you wish for others to notice. So go ahead, the floor is yours, gentlemen.
Okay, I am Christofer Ryan. I have an Instagram I haven't done anything with in a while, but you can find me on Twitter at Christofer Ryan _ and that's Christopher with an F. I'll do something with my Insta at some point, or I'll just get a new one. But if you want to get any info or see the kind of JoJo stuff I retweet, that's a lot of what it's been like for a little bit, you can just get that. Or if you want to hear me talk comics again, I'll probably be on the hacjacshow another time, or if I ever make my own thing. But again, if you want to find something like that, just go to Twitter at Christofer Ryan _ Christopher with an F.
Thank you, Chris. And Ghetto, what would you like to promote?
I don't have much to promote. I'm just passing through Ghetto Machine. I bum around this YouTube channel. I'm also on Twitter, or X as they call it now. As only Hack calls it now. He's the only person I know who actually calls it X. But yeah, at Machine Ghetto. If you want me to talk comics, just holla at your boy. I'll talk comics. I won't appear on any live streams or anything. I'm in an exclusive deal for the Hack Jack Show. They pay me in chicken nuggets every month. But yeah, man, just get at your boy. I'll talk to you. I just don't post much on Twitter. My thoughts stay in my head. Subscribe to the Kaiju Bros on Twitch, I guess. I don't know.
Definitely go to Twitch. Kaiju Bros. Great stuff there. I cannot recommend enough.
All right, thank you everyone for watching the first comic roundup. If you enjoyed and watched all the way through, of course, we appreciate your support with likes, comments, subscribes, all that YouTube junket stuff. And if you do all of that, that will guarantee that we'll continue this series on a monthly basis, because I would love to do more and also bring a variety of guests to showcase all the comics the world has to offer. But until then, this is Jack and the rest of the comic roundup panel sign off.
You called yourself Jack.
What? Okay.
You called yourself Jack.
Damn.
Oh my god! I knew it. They're the same person all along.
I knew it.
All right, let me start over.
Keep it in.
This-
Oh, I'm Dr. Crow.
this is HAC sign off